Merry meet everyone. I want to talk about a little something that we in the path of the craft have always heard. Okay. And they're called the 13 goals of a witch. And I want to change this up a little bit because from the fact that, I've studied different religious tradition, um, different spiritual paths, and I have seen that many of these that are used, these 13 goals, are in other spiritual paths as well. And I showed at the beginning of this video, I showed a picture of those goals. So now I want to talk about the first one. And I'm going to do this video, and I'm going to do a series of videos. There will be 13 videos, and I'm going to talk about each of these steps individually. And the reason that I'm doing this is that there is a rise into um, paganism, into other spiritual paths right now, and other people they're looking for more of an earth connection, more of a natural connection to divinity, or God, universe, whatever you want to call it. Um, People are coming to that. They're leaving the older, more restrictive and darker religions and coming into more of what spirituality is about. And when we are working within these thirteen goals here, I will tell you, are very common in the esoteric world, any kind of the occult world. When you are studying any kind of spiritual path that is about bettering the self, um, these are very true. And what I find very interesting is that many of the spiritual paths are about bettering yourself. Whether you realize it or not at the time, you're like, this is more about becoming your true authentic self of who you are. So the first one I'm going to talk about is know thyself. Know yourself. Now, the 13 goals of a witch are a set of guiding principles, and that originated within the Wiccan tradition, which is it's a modern pagan religion that has emerged about the mid-century. I believe it came to America in around 1962, and it was Raymond Buckland that brought it to America. So some practitioners believe that the 13 goals of a witch are based off the charge of the goddess, which was written by Doreen Valiente. But honestly, the exact origins of these 13 goals are unclear. I've done a lot of digging. I have done a lot of research trying to find the origin of it. And it seems that from what I'm finding is that they were popularized by Scott Cunningham, and he was a prominent Wiccan author. His book, what is it? This is Wicca, the Guide of the Solitary Practitioner. Um, I did read that book many, many years ago. Knowing now what I know, I honestly would not recommend that book for a beginner because for me, it was very confusing. It very much confused me. But to each his own, that's just my advice. So Cunningham described the 13 goals of a witch as a set of ethical and moral principles that are meant to guide witches in their spiritual practice and daily lives. Now, of course, the origin of the 13 goals of the witch are rooted in Wiccan belief, and it's about the interconnectedness of all things, the importance of personal responsibility, and the power of intention. Wicca draws on various spiritual and religious traditions, uh, such as Celtic paganism, European folk magic, and ceremonial magic. So the 13 goals reflect these diverse influences. And like I stated, when I read them for the first time, as I have journeyed through the different religious practices as well as the spiritual practices that I have been on, I have noticed these concepts that have rang true through the other ones as well. Now, I want to talk about Know Thyself. I mentioned that in the beginning. And knowing thyself is one thing that I think a lot of people miss when they begin this path because it's work. Knowing yourself and working through your own BS is a lot of work. Now, when we find this path, when we find this pagan magical path, whatever, if you want to call it Wicca, if you want to call it witchcraft, if you just want to call it a spiritual path, if whatever, when you find this path, you tend to have, many have unrealistic expectations of it. The ability to perform magic is alluring and powerful. And I will say that Hollywood has done a wonderful job to create these false illusions to others, um, regarding witchcraft, regarding magical work in particular, no matter what it is. Hollywood makes these wonderful movies that have these wonderful effects, and it's great. But sometimes, we get caught up in that magic that they're performing in that illusion, and we can have some unrealistic expectations and some unrealistic ideas of how this works. Honestly, the word witchcraft and, just the word witchcraft has become so tainted by society and the entertainment industry that I just like to refer to it as the path of the wise. And saying that, magic itself is a craft and it requires practice. So for the practitioner, it is of utmost importance to know yourself before beginning any serious practice at all. Meaning, knowing your morals, knowing your values, knowing what is important to you, and having deep roots in your beliefs and your practices. Now, when we look at our morals, we look at our values, when we're talking about, what those are, we have to think, are those our values or are those values that have been imprinted upon us, are conditioned, are forced? We are all raised in different environments, okay? And these different environments all have their own values and morals attached to them. We are all born in families that have these, and I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying that it happens. So, in saying that, are these your values? Are these your morals? Do you agree with them? And that can take some time of sitting down and just being honest with ourselves. So it takes time, um, when you're doing this to know yourself, it takes time. Again, this is something that many people don't want to do because it requires work. So, while we should be learning and growing every day, there are some immutable truths within us, and that helps us create our foundation. Your foundation is the first thing that you need to create when you begin any kind of spiritual or religious path, your foundation. And to be honest, I will say there's just There's just people who will not and cannot hold themselves accountable and responsible for themselves. We come, or any of their life circumstances. Many of us are born into families where the religion is don't worry about it. You can just ask for forgiveness. You're always, oh, it's this that made me do it. It's that influence. It's this influence. But we have free will. It is your free will. It is your will that you push forward to do things in this world. So blaming it on any kind of external force is not taking accountability for yourself. Now, as I say that, um, while we can't control the actions of others, we can control our reaction. And when we don't take responsibility for our reactions, we don't control ourselves and control our emotions, and we allow our ego to take over. We do things that we wouldn't normally do. And I have seen many people that have ruined their life by giving in to their emotions and to their ego, allowing that to control them. I've seen, when we do so, the cursing your enemy, manipulating a lover, manipulating someone to love you, hexes, etc., on and on. This just keeps creating webs of entanglement for them. And knowing yourself is about being grounded and centered deep within you. It is about seeing beyond. It's about controlling that ego, controlling that emotions, and seeing a bigger picture, seeing it from a better stance. Is there a time to come in? Of course there is. Protection is a different subject. But I think that you're intelligent enough to know what I'm talking about. Magic is available to us. Yes, it is all around us. It is within everything. And when you are walking this path, you'll realize that there is magic in every single thing that you do. From washing your face in the morning, from brushing your teeth in the morning, having that first cup of coffee, or even the first thing you do, drinking water in the morning, that becomes a magical act. It is available to us, yes. And there's different levels of it, yes. But we also must respect it, and we must not abuse the privilege. Someone crossing you, for example, of course, or cursing you. If someone curses you, for example, many times it is mundane. And when people are doing that, it is because an ego, emotional trigger has been ignited, so to speak. So you're on this trip of I'll get even with them. I'll get even with that. That's not you being in control of yourself. That is not you being in control of your ego. Am I saying the ego is bad? No. The ego is there to protect you. Yes. But it's like a little 3-year-old with a handgun, right? We have to be careful. So if someone is coming at you for different reasons, it's important that you stay grounded and centered within yourself so that you may not do something that you will later regret. Okay? Don't just take the leap and go and do whatever for revenge. Don't take that leap. There is an unfoldment that is happening, And this is also about understanding how magic plays out. There's an unfoldment that is happening, that needs to happen, that you need to see. And this could be about you learning a lesson as well. You have to see the bigger picture of things, okay? I see a lot. I get on social media and I see where on TikTok, it's very nauseating to watch these people that are within the magic, the magical and spiritual world going at each other. My ancestors are more powerful than yours. My deities are more powerful than yours, and so forth. This is an ego game. And this is something that you should not fall prey to. In my personal life, with close people, there has been an uproar within, two different people that were close to me. There have been a separation. And one side is very calm and just trying to pick up the pieces and everything and that has happened, and it has done very well. And in actuality, things are really blooming now that the said people are gone. But you see this other force over here that's trying to, I guess they're hurt and they're trying to play out. And this is the only what I'm seeing. They're missing the lesson there. And they're not seeing it. Because there is a bigger picture to things. And while, sure, I'm going to be having to draw some boundaries for this over here, because this over here is not doing anything. We see the problem, right? We can see what's going on, because I did not jump on my emotional bandwagon and jump into that turmoil. I stood back and I watched things play out. I stood back and I watched people play their cards. Being the wise, learning how to be a wise owl and just watching, you discover a lot of things. Sometimes action is not the best thing to do at the time, right? Again, this is where knowing yourself, holding yourself responsible and accountable comes into play. So we are still in the dark half of the year. And we are coming out the other side. The sun, we've already had the winter solstice here in the northern hemisphere, so the days are getting longer. So this is a really good time to start releasing that bad and working our way toward the light, working our way toward that cleansing, okay? Working our way toward enlightenment, knowing yourself. And that is your homework. Know thyself. Thank you for watching and listening. I truly appreciate it. And I hope that you stay tuned, like, subscribe, leave a comment on how you've been working through those aspects and learning how to know thyself and learning how to be in control of yourself. And you can see how that plays out later down the road, especially when you are working magic, when you are doing your intentions. You will see a difference. All right. Many blessings to you all.